All right, Keidra, you are the web and SEO manager of ABM Industries.
It's almost a norm at this point that a lot of companies are seeing traffic go down. A lot of those users who are using LLM tools like ChatGPT, Perplexity, etc., when they come to your site, they're converting much, much quicker. Not only were we going through a site migration, we were also going through a company rebrand. With such a large website, you don't realize how many pages you have sometimes until you sit there and you look at the full list of everything. Content has become more and more king in the world of SEO. I think one of the most underutilized methods of SEO is
All right, Keidra Floyd, how are you?
good. How are you?
Good. I'm so glad to have you on. All right, Keidra, you are. I want to get your title right. I want to make sure this is correct. Your LinkedIn at least says you are the web and SEO manager of ABM Industries. ABM Industries, a Fortune 500 company. They do tech-enabled facility services, and you have been there. What is it? Almost a decade? 7 years?
It,
Something like that.
yeah, 7 years. I just hit 7 years maybe 2 weeks ago. So yeah, it's a long time.
So we're getting into all kinds of fun things. So we'll talk some technical SEO, how to work in a matrix environment, and just how Keidra has seen SEO change, running a very very large website. So that this will be a lot of fun. But first, I want to ask you, Keidra, how did you, before we got on the call? You said I didn't choose to be an Alabama fan; it chose me. How did you choose to be an SEO?
I actually have a background in web design and web development, and my career started off there. So I was building out websites at a another company, and a lot of my experience there was building out multiple websites for smaller mom and pop companies. And unfortunately, got laid off from that job. But I was always so interested in SEO while I was building those websites, and building the websites is one thing, but actually getting them to rank and actually have people come to the site is a whole nother
Mm.
thing because what's a site with no traffic, no users? During my time of being laid off from that job, I really took a lot of time to get into different courses that were teaching me a lot about SEO and things of that sort, and ended up landing an SEO position after that. That manager at that other company really, really taught me a lot of the fundamentals and really got me into the weeds of SEO. And after that, that's where I landed here at ABM.
Oh, that's interesting. So you came from a technical background. That must have served you really well because I think I love the analogy. You're like a rock star with no audience. You know, you build these websites, but no one's coming to it. But like, I want to build audiences for
Yeah.
these creations. But having that technical background, where do you think that gave you an advantage coming in to learn like authority and content and driving traffic?
Yeah, I think it helped me a lot with actually learning the back end of a website and learning what's possible. Learning where to implement different tags on the site and learning how to mark up different types of like schema, for example. I don't know if it was that big back then, but learning how to mark up different copy on the site and that was really helpful. And I think it kind of gave me the foundation of being able to talk to engineers or developers a little bit more about what to do now that I'm on the flip side of things on the SEO world. Being able to translate things from marketing terms to more engineering terms because they don't
Mm.
always speak the same language.
Well, that's really yeah. So that's one thing I want to get into because you're able to talk. You have an insights group at
Mhm.
ABM, which I'm sure so many companies are jealous of. But you're able to speak content and then go turn around, swivel your chair, talk to the engineer about developing it on the website. And you all are on Webflow. That must
Yeah.
be really. You must be a little bit of a unicorn in that you can talk both those languages and you probably are a lot more effective.
Yeah, and I've been told that so many times now at this point.
That
Like,
you're a unicorn or that you're
yeah.
effective.
Because I feel like my role just sits at the intersection of SEO, web management, content, engineering or web development. And that has helped me in so many different ways. Just being able to learn more and more about, especially in this world of AI and LLMs coming into play more and more. Just learning how to, again, kind of translate different terms to different people. When I'm speaking to copy teams, I'm letting them know about, how to structure the copy on the page for LLMs. But when I'm speaking to developers, I'm telling them how to mark up the FAQs, for example, to get that schema for the FAQ page. And then when I'm talking to other SEOs, I'm actually letting them know about, keywords that I want to be able to target and competitors and how their pages are ranking on traditional search versus LLMs or on the AI overviews, for example. So it's fun to be able to, kind of speak a little bit of all of those languages.
That's great. So what would you say, 8 years, 7 years at
7.
ABM?
Mhm.
7 years. You've seen a lot of things change, and, I know your team. I know Adam Seaver and Carrie Bainbridge. They are awesome. They are very forward thinking. So you
Yeah.
have an amazing group. But over those 7 years, you've seen ABM, at least, when we came into the picture and started partnering with you, I can see there was a lot more conversation about SEO, now GEO. Like, this is important to our brand. And what have you seen? Like, how have you been successful from this transition? Because I'm not saying you were in a silo, but now you're like, oh, we're moving you really to the tip of the spear on some of these marketing initiatives. And so, like, can you talk through maybe what's changed? Maybe nothing's changed. Maybe you've always been in the front of it, but like, could you talk about maybe that transition?
Yeah, I would say, over the years, I think content has become more and more king in the world of SEO. Um, and KPIs have even shifted over the years too. Things like getting traffic and getting people to come to the actual site has always been a big thing for SEO. That's been the primary goal, is to actually have users come to your site. You want to rank number 1 on the search engines. And that's shifting a little bit more as we go into the world of GEO. Now we're trying to see, not only traffic is still very important,
Of course.
and I think that's still a huge priority for a lot of us. But we're also wanting to be mentioned inside of the LLM tools. We're also wanting to be number 1 on the AI overviews and for zero click searches, because a lot of people are typing in. This is a very broad example, but when was ABM founded or something like that. They wanna know something like that, but they don't have to actually click on your site anymore to get that answer, because Google will just give you the answer on their search engine. So, we wanna be able to be the one to provide that information to the user when they're actually searching these different queries. So, I think the metrics are changing a lot, but the goal is still, for ABM to be the number 1, company or site that shows up, but I think mentions are also becoming more and more of a thing too, because when people are typing in different queries inside of the LLM tools, we want for ABM to actually be mentioned on these citations that they have, and to have links that go back to our site from LLM tools, because a lot of those users who are using LLM tools like ChatGPT, Perplexity, etc., when they come to your site, they're converting much, much quicker, much, much quicker,
Right.
and that's the audience that we really love, because they've done their research. They've done all the research that they need. They've done all the comparison queries that they need to do to actually land on your company. So when they're there, they're just looking for different trust signals, for example. They wanna just confirm the things that they've seen inside of the LLM tool, and they're ready to talk to somebody, which that's the ideal journey.
That is so good. You said that so well, trust signals,
Yeah.
especially in B2B, because, like, when I go to ABM to buy, this is a big contract. I'm talking
Mhm.
about maybe my college campus and
Yeah,
parking, facilities management, HVAC repair, all of these things. So this isn't just like some, spur of the moment, buy the new Jordans kind of a thing. This is actually a
exactly.
huge purchase, right? And so The idea that your buyer is having a very intimate conversation, and then research suggests they're 70% the way through the sales cycle by the time they talk to sales.
Yes.
They're actually looking more to check you off the list than they are to actually buy with you. Like I
Yeah.
have 4 vendors. Um, this is what I found out. Now, please confirm or deny that this is what I know.
Yeah. Yeah, they have a list of people, and that's actually been some of my experience as well with doing some research for different vendors. I've, you know, taken my queries to the traditional SERPs, but I also take that information that I've gathered and put it inside of LLMs to tell me, compare these different vendors and let me know like what are the reviews that people are saying about them. This is what I want. I want a team of X amount of people who can focus on X, Y, and Z. Tell me which one would be the best person. And then again, like you said, I might still reach out to these companies to see can I confirm some of this information because LLMs aren't 100% accurate.
Right, right.
So I want to talk to an actual human to make sure that I'm getting the right information. But like you said, I'm actually just crossing people off of the list so I can narrow it down to the winner. So
Mm.
yeah, that's it's so different how the user journey is just shifting more and more over the years. But I love to be a part of it. It's such an interesting thing to see.
Yeah, you can either be afraid of it or you can like get into the conversation and it becomes much more. I heard this great quote by Morty Oberstein. He was on our podcast, but he says, what the LLM says about you, about your brand,
Hmm.
is positioning. Is positioning. And so how do you stack up against your 3 biggest competitors? That is your
Hmm.
positioning statement. And if the LLM can't position you correctly or too low or not even at all, because I'd like what's the most common query? Give me the top 10 facility management companies in America or for Georgia.
Yeah.
That's the query. If you're not in that top 10, you've totally lacked positioning. Or give me the one that does parking the best or does airport maintenance the best. Like that's your positioning statement in that. And if you don't have content to address all of those intimate conversations that your buyer's having, and not just one person, like how many, it's not just one person for you, right? With 10
Hmm.
different people or stakeholders making this decision for $1 million contract. So you have to answer a lot of questions with a lot of great content. So you
Yeah,
bring
and
up
I
that.
I love that you brought that up, Nick, because I'm starting to see more and more people suggesting, creating more and more comparison content because that's what people are doing inside of LLMs. They're typing in different queries that people aren't necessarily typing inside of a Google or a Bing. So, a lot of SEOs are suggesting that people create more comparison content to target that audience and you can get as granular as you want to. Um, and I'm seeing a lot of people also kind of test out, um, ABM versus this company versus that company. What's the difference? What are the pros and cons? And it kind of gets tricky when when you're dealing with a company like ABM of an enterprise scale company but, it's a tactic that I'm seeing a lot of people do for smaller companies, and that's helping them actually win because they're bringing in not only the cons of the next company, but they're also really mentioning the good things that the next company is doing too. So they're serving up an honest opinion, and that's what LLMs like too, is to see, just
Yes.
that really true content, and comparison content in particular for one company versus the other.
Yeah. I mean, as a buyer, it's the experience I've always wanted.
Mhm.
Give me the vendor with the most experience and the best track record.
Yeah.
And whether you do that through comparison content, at least if you're amplifying your experience and your results, like
Mhm.
ABM has 100 years of results of doing right
Yeah.
by your clients, right? So therefore, but if no one knows about it, if you're not like amplifying that trust signals, like you said before, then
Mhm.
your brand's hurting. Okay, I want to go
Yeah.
back to brand. So this is the other thing. So what's really cool about LLMs is pulling in. You mentioned review sites. Is bringing in social media and is
Mhm.
positioning your brand not just on your website but these off-page signals.
Mhm.
Okay, so yeah, we can talk about off-page signals all we want, but for you as the SEO, again, wearing our unicorn hat,
Yeah.
what has changed for you? You're now probably walking into your brand, director's office. You're walking into your social media director's office. You're probably having much more different conversations like, "Hey, let's talk about our SEO strategy. Or
Mhm.
let's talk, how can I help you and how you can help me?" I'm sure those conversations were probably a little different, last 18 months versus they were your first couple years at ABM.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think there's much more conversations now around, like, personalization specifically for LLM traffic, um, because I think it's almost a norm at this point that a lot of companies are seeing traffic go down due
Mhm,
to more people interacting with, the LLM tools. So, we're trying to figure out how to address that, and the best thing is to still continue to generate high quality content,
mhm.
um, making sure that the schema on the site is as best as possible to address zero click impressions and zero
Yeah.
click searches. But also being able to make sure your site is optimized as best as possible for different users. So that's site personalization to address, users who might come from different industries and making sure that the site is optimized in a way that resonates with that user. And also just making sure that we're converting LLM traffic as quickly as possible.
Mm,
So I've been partnering a lot with the data team to see what pages are these LLM users actually landing on? What content are they coming for? And
that's
I'm
really good.
seeing that a lot of times they're actually landing directly on converting highly converting pages, like the contact page, for example, and the home page, for example. So I'm partnering with the data team still to kind of look at that a little bit more. But I think next steps from there will be me having more conversations with our UX manager to figure out and developers to figure out how we can maybe adjust maybe some of the copy, maybe have some different CRO optimizations that we can
Mhm.
implement to convert this traffic quicker.
So when you walk into the social media manager's office and
Mhm.
they're like, "Hey, let's talk about the keywords we're going after. We would love more social posts on this." Are they used to that, or is that a relationship you've already cultivated?
No, it definitely was much more siloed for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, it would be. I'm
It's
like, why would that, like, we've always been associated with PPC, and
yeah.
actually we're actually further away from that. Yes, we do keywords, but they're doing top of the funnel, but we're doing, like, SEO is much more middle of the funnel now, like those comparison questions you mentioned before.
Mhm.
And that's very much more related to social and digital PR now.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, again, to your question, I think we're having a lot more conversations with social teams now, and I think we're a little bit new at that, and we're still trying to flex that muscle a little bit. But yeah, I think I'm having a lot more conversations with them and figuring out, how can we use one piece of content, but also share it across multiple audiences.
Yes.
Because, LinkedIn audiences might want to see one piece of copy, but SEOers or email traffic might want to see something different.
Okay, I wanna shift over to the insights group, your content team that are
Hmm.
writing. You have all this data at ABM, you're writing original research. I'm sure a lot of business owners are salivating over having that resource. But could you talk to me about, like, when you're working with a research and an insights team, what is key to a positive relationship with that group?
Consistent conversations, I would say.
Okay. Yeah.
Consistent
Is that, like,
conversation.
weekly? What does that look like for you all? Daily?
Maybe like bi-weekly. So I think we kind of bring them in a lot with our SEO one-on-ones that we have with Sure Oak. But I've also implemented a SEO playbook as well to kind of help give them some sort of guidance on how to structure copy on the page and how to actually have, conversational and human tones when you're actually writing the copy on the page. Making sure if you have a question based heading, make sure that the first sentence after that question based heading is actually answering that question. And then maybe
Mm,
you can elaborate throughout the rest of that section. Adding in FAQs, having concise intros, and just making sure that you have a very well balanced or structured way to create the copy on the page. I think that's been much more important lately. And I think, again, with content being so important nowadays, with AI and LLM being more and more in the conversation of SEO, it's not even a consideration anymore that SEO has to partner with copy. It's a must have, you know? You really do have to collaborate together to get the best outcome.
that's so good. I hear that theme a lot with SEOs. It comes
Mhm.
down to education. I don't know if we'll ever be called GEOs, but the idea that there is a certain way to write, and the LLMs are based on the way humans like to read. I mean, they skim, they look for headers, they like
Yeah.
snippets. Uh, and if you could follow that logic, writing at a unfortunately, the LLMs really like language at a 4th grade level. I know that's really hard as business
Yes.
writers, but it
Yes.
likes these chunky, very straightforward because it wants to copy and paste it back into the LLM because it does not want to hallucinate. I mean, it'd rather not. It'd rather have something verifiable that can copy and paste. And if you can get that citation, again, you get that positioning slash trust signal that you've been looking for. So I think that education piece, um, I would imagine they're pretty receptive once they start seeing the results of, like, again, it's the rock star with no audience. What, like, oh, people are filling the seats now. They're looking at our
Yep.
great content. I'm sure
Yep.
they're starting to feel the positive reinforcement of your playbook.
Yeah, and that's so hard too because like to your point, like a lot of the audience that we wanna create copy for are C-suite VP level users.
Mhm.
And that's so hard to strike that balance between making sure that we're creating copy for them that resonates with them, but also I don't wanna say dumb it down, but, like, making sure
Simplify it. Yeah,
that
simplify, yeah.
you yeah, like, you just have copy written in a way that is just easy to read. It's, again, kinda conversational and making sure that it's just it's not an information overload or, like, too many complex words or things of that sort, but also our industry is very complex, so in certain
Yeah.
terms, they just have to be there, they just do. But, if it's not being done right, it just won't work. So it's hard to strike that balance, but, it just sometimes it takes a couple of revisions, but, we do what we can.
No, and that's fair too. We don't wanna say because I love it. Like with Gemini has come out with personal intelligence. So it's using the user's entire database to know them what their intent is. And so when I say parking and I'm a VP of facilities, it knows immediately I'm talking about my business. Whereas like
Mhm.
parking for me, I go out to eat a lot and yeah, there'll be valet at the restaurant when you get there. Like that's if
Yeah.
I just say parking, it knows the intent right away of what's going on. I'm assuming you still have to talk like you're a native of that industry, using the right acronyms, using the
Mhm.
the the key terms that are important to that user, because that's the conversation they're having with the LLM anyway. So I think that's totally fair that you have to strike that balance of industry insight. We know you, we don't use the wrong terms, but this is still a good read. It's
Yeah.
approachable, it's consumable, and it's helpful right out of the gate.
Yeah. And then also making things concise too and, putting things in bullet points and tables and numbered lists and things like that. LLMs love that. They
Yes.
love, love, love information to kind of just be broken down and just easily skinnable.
Yeah,
So
no,
so
you
you
can
can
skin it
just
too. Yeah, I like that term better.
so you could just easily look at copy and just go directly to the answer that you're trying to get. And having things like table of contents too, that's also really helpful.
Yeah.
And it is another thing that we implemented for UX and SEO reasons, but just making sure that you're actually able to get to your answer very quickly because people have um, less and less attention spans, so we have to be able to address that.
Yeah. One thing I love working with you is that you're superwoman. Like, not only you're nodding your head like, "I know." Yeah.
Thank you.
You have to be here. You have to be. Well, not only do you have a huge website, so I'm imagine there's technical things you're constantly putting out fires,
Mhm,
but the other is that you have so many products, you have divisions,
mhm.
and you have to constantly be going to meetings. I don't know which one you wanna go to first, like, supporting multiple product lines and service lines, or do you wanna talk more about, like, uh, the move from was it WordPress to Webflow, and
Yeah,
maintaining a huge website like that? I don't know, whatever one
yeah.
you wanna go to.
Let's do the migration first. This is
Okay,
always my
do that,
favorite
yeah, please.
topic.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I think a big part of migrating from WordPress over to Webflow is making sure that SEO is not forgotten inside of the designs that are being created. And so that's making sure that we have enough room inside of the copy to actually address SEO. And then making sure that we are preserving the page equity that we built
Yes.
on our old website and mapping those old URLs to a relevant page on the new website. So we didn't obviously keep everything on our old website, but we kept a lot and maybe repurposed a lot as well. So we wanted to make sure that those high performing pages that people were not landing on a 404 page and the page that they actually did land on was still relevant.
Mm,
Um, and also part of that was just making sure our sitemap was as up to date and as organized as much as possible. Same thing with our site architecture. That was another really big thing too, making sure
mm,
all of the content and the pages on the website were organized in a way that users understand, crawlers understand, LLMs understand. It's structured in a way that just makes sense, and it also doesn't hide our high priority pages because if
mm,
Google can't crawl it, it doesn't exist. You know? It just doesn't exist. So, those were all really big things for me. Just I think the redirecting probably took the most time just
mm,
because with such a large website, you don't realize how many pages you have sometimes until you sit there and you look at the full list of everything. So so that was a lot. And, just trying to figure out, do we even need this page anymore? Is this still relevant? Um, or can we go ahead and get rid of it? And that also was something that I had to look inside of GA4 for to see,
mm,
well, are we getting traffic for it? And if so, when was the last time we got a good amount of traffic? What is considered a good amount of traffic for this page? Um, so that took a lot of researching and, making sure that we were mapping things the right way and having the right user experience for the site because obviously you don't want to lose that traffic when you do a migration. And I think when a migration is done right, you won't. It just takes a lot of partnership with SEO and maybe even your developers as well, just to make sure those redirects are set up in the best way. So yeah.
So what was the result? Did you lose a little bit? Just I mean, I imagine you have to lose a little bit, but with the pruning and the upscaling of content and pages, was there a recovery?
Yeah. Yeah, we did lose some traffic and not only were we going through a site migration, we were also going through a company rebrand. We
I
were
remember that. Yeah,
also
it looks good, by the way. Yeah.
Thank you.
Both look good. Both look good.
We were also repositioning our brand. So we lost some search terms that just we didn't really feel that they were as relevant to our new version of our company. So some of that we did have to do some post-launch work to implement the keywords that are still relevant to our company and what we want to put out to our audience. But some of those keywords that we lost traffic for, it just it was okay. It was kind of the point of,
Right.
the repositioning. So after we launched, I just kept a really close eye on Google Search Console and making sure the indexing didn't drop severely.
Mm,
And then just also keeping an eye inside of GA4 to make sure our traffic was still at least somewhat steady. We weren't dropping too far, and that Google was still crawling our pages on our new website. And also looking at backlinks too. So sometimes you find that um, one of the reasons that you were getting a lot of traffic to a specific page is because it was referral traffic from
yeah.
maybe a really good site, a really good backlink, which is great. Um, and again, still you need to keep an eye on that just to make sure that traffic isn't lost or it doesn't land because you don't wanna always redirect traffic to a homepage. I see a lot of people do
No.
that, like,
Oh, I
it's
hate
not
that.
good.
Not good
It's
at
really
all.
not good. You want them to land somewhere very relevant because if they land on the homepage, they're just gonna bounce. They're just gonna go
Yes.
somewhere else. So yeah, we didn't wanna lose that.
Yeah, it hurts the story, right? I'm here to talk about, my college's,
Mhm.
facilities management, and I land on the homepage. It's just like,
Yeah.
well, now I have to have an extra click, and clicks kills deals, right? And
Yep.
so if I'm on the immediately relevant page with the information I want, even like in the middle of the page,
Mhm.
where they were actually part of the story, I mean, that's huge. That's really huge.
Yeah, because you don't want them to land on your website and have to start searching because they're probably not. Chances are they're just not. But I mean, I think we did a really good job of actually setting up all those redirects. It was a huge list. Um, but I guess
Yeah.
that's what comes with managing a huge website is that there's hundreds, if not thousands, of pages on an enterprise level website. And you just have to, organize it as best as possible and making sure that you're again preserving that URL equity and keeping those users coming to your site.
Right, because it's not the domain's equity, it's a page by page
Yes.
equity.
Yes.
And I
Yep.
think people lose sight of that. It's like this page in particular for this service line has equity, and I don't wanna lose it, right?
Yeah, that page authority is huge. And that also brings me to another point of like I think one of the most underutilized methods of SEO is interlinking copy on the page. Because when you do get that page authority, you want to say, hey, Google, not only is this page great, but let me spread the love to my other pages as well. And, when you come to this page, I want you to see all the other relevant copy that I have in relation to this topic. So obviously do it in a way that's very contextual and, relevant
Totally.
to the topic on the page, but just making sure that you're keeping users on the site and showing them all the other, again, just relevant, high quality content that you have on the page is so important.
No, it shows Google you have depth and that you're not a
Mhm.
one trick pony. It just shows that
Yep.
you are I mean, like I've seen a move to more comprehensive blogs. Yes, they are still written within like succinct paragraphs, but I've
Mhm.
seen much more of a move to addressing the depth that's needed on these conversations. Yes, you can do it with multiple pages,
Yep.
but still the LLM has to go all over the place. But you have like, here's our page. And then
Mhm.
if you want further reference about this side topic that's a little off of this blog, please refer here. If you really want to like get into it, look at our service page, and that's where we
Yeah.
transact. I mean, we love that. We love that
Yeah, 'cause
story.
that topical authority is so huge nowadays. Just making sure that you're not, surface level on a content, making sure that you're showing your searchers and your users and, LLMs again, that you, again, to your point, have depth, you know? It's not
Mhm.
that I just have general information on a topic. No, I have the experience. I have experience, authority, and the trust
Expertise,
to
yeah.
prove that I can do the job.
Yeah, I
So,
think
yeah,
people
that's
forget
important.
people forget. I don't think they forget. I think they're probably tired of hearing EEAT.
Mhm.
Um, I like NEEAT. I like the N in front
What's
of it because I
in?
think the N would be niche or novel. So if
Ah,
you're
I
very
like that.
specific and if you have original content,
Yeah.
That's even better because I think in the world of zero click, if it's derivative, if it's been said before, I think that's
Yeah.
why we're seeing so much zero click traffic because I think so many people invested in regurgitated information that already existed. And you're not going to get credit for that. But if you've done a
Yeah.
survey of 1,000 facility managers and they all have this specific problem, like that's original and
Right.
no one can replicate that but ABM, right? So
Yeah.
that's got to
Yeah.
be huge. Yeah.
Agree.
Okay. So what about the other side? The other part of the question, if we remember, was all the different service lines. I'm imagine you have to put yourself out there in a big way as an SEO to each of your departments. This is what we could be doing for your brand, your particular like, even though there's a big ABM brand,
Mhm.
your aviation department. Like, how can we help you? Are you in meetings all day, every day? Like, I don't know where you have time to actually do work, but how do you like what does ABM do on that? And not to give away trade secrets, but how do you manage so many service lines?
Yeah, so one thing that we're really good at doing is our we call them strategy managers, and they are the ones who are over our different industry groups, the marketing team at least. So what we do is every at the top of every fiscal year, they let us know what's going to be really important to that industry group, what specific content we might need for that industry group, the user type for that industry group, things like that that will really help us be able to do specific keyword research to help them reach that goal. And if we need to get any granular than that, I will set up some time with them to get more information. But yeah, so they do that at the top of every fiscal year, and I think in the halfway point of every fiscal year too. So that's really helpful and gives us more
Mm.
context into what this industry group needs from me from an SEO standpoint. So, and that also informs the copy that is actually created. So that's helpful.
And I mean, I shouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
It comes on the front end. It's good
Hmm.
planning, it's good
Yeah.
communication, it's a detailed, scope of work that's gonna happen for 6 months, and then we'll readjust. I'm sure the cycle could get broken up in more, would you say, disrupted industries, but, like, that makes total sense. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it also helps us be able to get knowledge on, what's important to those stakeholders because we don't always get visibility into that. So it's nice to know like what does that audience look for when they're on the site. So I love to see that information at the top of every year. It's really helpful for me and again it kind of just informs that keyword research for those different industry groups.
that's great.
Yeah.
Um, your CMO, Carrie Bainbridge, I love her. She's super brilliant. But
Yeah,
I
she
imagine you're doing a lot of education, not just to her, but, like, just to the company at large. Like, here is the changing nature of SEO. This is what the data is now telling us, and it's not the data. These same metrics are very different than last year's metrics, and so I'm
mhm,
not gonna be able to give you the straight ROI because organic is down, but direct is up, and, trends like that that are interesting. Um, do you find yourself doing a lot of, education up about, like, "Hey, here's what's coming?"
mhm. Yeah, so SEO is such a hot topic right now at ABM, especially because, again, we're in this really interesting world of seeing AI and LLMs playing a huge role on the overall search journey. Um, and I typically like to sign up for different blogs, Search Engine Journal and Search Engine Land, two of my favorites.
Mhm.
Um, just to find out what's new, what's going on, what do I need to be focusing on, algorithm updates, of course, just learning more information about different trends about SEO. What I'll do is I'll take that information and a lot of times it changes though too.
Yeah.
So I'm
You know, I
not
told you
quick.
what I told you yesterday? It's over. It's
Yeah. It's the same thing like how, a couple of months ago, it was a really big topic, maybe a year ago at this point. It was a really big topic to create, um, LLMs.txt files. And then
Mm.
maybe a month or 2 later, they came back and they were like, "Well, actually, we tested it out and they don't actually crawl these files." So
No, they don't, yeah.
so
My
maybe it's
bad.
not as important. So things like that. I try to, kinda give it a little bit of time to just sit on that information and really take it in. And a lot of times during that time of me just kind of, I don't wanna say just waiting, but during that time of me just kinda holding it in, um, different research projects will have happened, and they would have tested things out to see how well things work
Right.
and, what wins or losses different sites saw after implementing things. So I like to take that into consideration too. So I'll be able to put all that information together, put it in a deck, share it out with my VP and my CMO, and have them informed on that information. And then we also do some interactions with Gartner. They will present to us some of the latest information and their latest findings on
Mhm.
SEO and where that whole world is going. But yes, they love SEO, GEO, AEO, SGE. I don't know what the acronym is today.
Just search. Just search.
Yeah, just search. I mean, and I love it too. I'm so involved in how just that whole search landscape is just changing day by day, and I don't know, it's hard to not obsess over it, so
Yeah, Gartner came out with a report that SEO budgets were gonna increase in 2026, and I was giving that to every person I knew. I was like, "Let's go. Let's get these
Yeah.
budgets up because this is important. This is the tip of the spear. We have to
Hope
win."
so, man. I have so many ideas around SEO and things that I wanna different tools that I wanna play around with a little bit more. There's so many now. There's Conductor, there's SEMrush is really putting a lot of,
Yeah, they are.
um, enhancements into their tool. There's always Ahrefs. There's so many. There's really so many that you can just kinda track different AI prompts and see how you're showing up in comparison to your competitors, which is really important because there's only so much that we can see inside of, a GA4 kinda tool. But I do know that Bing, I forget what the name of their tool is. Sorry.
Their
They're a lot.
Copilot tool? Yeah.
No, the, Webmaster?
Okay.
I
Okay,
think
I
is
haven't
their
played with it,
version of
yeah,
Google Search Console.
yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, no, I mean, Microsoft has been out a lot lately with
Yeah,
trying to and, I think people underestimate Bing and Copilot, but, like, that's the standard stack for Fortune 500 America, right? So if you're not
yeah,
having conversations and addressing that,
yeah,
yeah, you better wake up, right? So
yeah, and too, another thing is I'm seeing a lot of information on Claude releasing some sort of tool that you can, I don't know if it's you creating it, but a lot of, like, SEO tracking is done
Mhm.
through Claude, and I think they also have some sort of integration with SEMrush, and I would love to get more into these sorts of things and be able to even create some sort of tool. There was another article that I saw that you can create, an SEO tracking tool with Python, and again, kinda having that background in web development, it's the best of both worlds for me, so I love it.
Yeah, that's really I would highly recommend anyone listening to and we could put it in the show notes, but the Lex Friedman podcast, he did an interview with the founder of OpenClaw. And
Mm,
so these agents, and that's probably what you're referring to with Claude.
mhm,
OpenClaw, it was a spoof on Claude. But OpenClaw was that you could make these agents and people could share agents and they were called skills. And so you can literally
mm,
do like SEO audit skill. You could download it. The danger is like we don't quite know exactly what these agents will do. They're not always optimized. And
mhm,
like we can't just put it on ABM's data set and let it run willy-nilly. We can give it read access, but what if something kind of breaks out of the box? But like that is where we're going. And so I
yeah,
always encourage people like play with making an agent, see if it can make your life better. Like allocating some time either daily or weekly just to do that
mhm,
goes a long way and play with some of these, either shareable pre-made agents, modify them, edit them for you. I think that's really where we're going. Um, the you and don't be afraid of it. Yes, the disruption is exponential, but you can't like just accept you're going to be behind
mm,
but like like try to like you said, like start playing with these tools. I love
Yeah.
it that SEMrush Ahrefs has more AI written into the Asana we use for our project management. It has AI. Slack has AI in it.
Mhm.
We're starting to see it in all of our tech stack. So, any other fun tools you use that people should know about?
I know there's also an integration too, I think with ChatGPT and Teams and Outlook. I think you can integrate those 2 so they start to learn a little bit more information about your projects instead of you having to write a whole paragraph about this is what's going on and this is where we're at. It just can kind of pull that information in, and that's what's needed. I think a lot of people are also kind of using it as almost like a personal assistant, another brain to bounce ideas off of even to get you to the best solution for whatever problem it is that you're trying to solve, and that's really helpful. I also kind of do a similar thing with creating my own AI agent for SEO, and a lot of times my query that I'll type in is, "Hey, act as if I'm a facility manager at a campus," for example.
Mhm.
This is what I'm searching for. What do I need to optimize in this copy? Or what do I need to optimize on this page? Or whatever the situation is, give me recommendations. And I find that when you give the AI tool a role, that really helps a lot instead of it just making it very general. Um, but yeah, I've just been playing around with it a lot and just figuring out what is the best way for me to just reach my overall goal. But I love it.
No, that's an utilized one. Creating avatars of your ideal customer profile. I mean, start having conversations and if you have Salesforce or HubSpot, if you have these profiles and you know how they buy and you know what pages they like, you start digging. I mean, Salesforce will give you all kinds of insights. Then you put it into your agent and it starts making this really robust profile, has a personality and preferences of its own. And you start like,
Yep.
do you like this content? No, I
Yeah.
hate it. Why? Just like you can have those conversations. You give it tone, be brutally honest, but tear it apart.
Yep.
What do you like? What's fluff? What's relevant? I think that's really good. That's really, really good. So
Yeah, and it's always about just kinda making it better, we have to continue to adjust as the user journey is just changing more and more, and as our
yeah,
success metrics are changing more and more, we have to be able to just adjust as much as possible to meet the user where they are.
I love
Yeah.
it. Keidra, how can people find you? I think we did about 45 minutes. Anything I should have asked that you wanted to talk about, but how can people find you? What's on the horizon for Keidra? You're a rock star in this space. We love working with you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, I don't know if there's anything else that we didn't hit on. I think we kind of touched on everything. Content, technical SEO, working with developers and copywriters, things of that sort. But if there's anything left or any other questions that you feel like I can help you address, you can find me on LinkedIn, just Keidra Floyd, Keidra. And I will be quick to respond to your DM.
Yes, you're the best. So, well, thank you for doing this.
Of course.
You're a great partner. You lead our team really, really well. So, can we do this again?
Of course. Yeah. I would be so honored to be back here. What? Yes. Thank
Yeah, let's
you.
go. All right. So check out Keidra Floyd, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Thank you.